by Steve Austin.
Chapter 11. An Unexpected Arrival. The Chief Secretary of the Panetetian Parliament stood behind the podium at the head of the Parliamentum, the chamber at the Disselry where the Parliament convenes, and pounded the gavel 3 times, calling the meeting to order with this announcement: the 11th Panetetian Parliament will now come to order. Palatar Minerva Barmaheen will preside.
Be seated, dear witches. Members of the Parliament, our time approaches at a rapid clip. For too long have we sat and watched as other inferior species ruled Aeros as they saw fit. For too long have we clung to an ancient doctrine which no longer has merit in our current society. Yes, there was a time when Marfo doctrine was a code which deserved honor, a code which guided us through the ages from order to order, a code which helped to maintain balance between the species of Aeros. But it was also a time when species were pure, when half-breeds were shunned by polite society, not elevated to offices they have no right or claim to, a time when every species knew its proper function within the framework of the world we call Aeros.
She cleared her throat and continued.
But that time ended a few centuries ago, when the Gnomish ventured from the confines of Penichery, when humanoids set up usury and built cities in the southwest to facilitate their illicit commerce, when elves began to mingle with noids and gnomes, when the bastard city of Boniscus rose to make welcome those which were once rightfully referred to as scum. Well, if there has ever been a time to act upon the old adage, fight fire with fire, that time is now. If it is scum they crave, it is scum we shall feed them. Witches, we have now enough brainwashed oglery to wage war upon Aeros, and wage it we shall. We shall give them just what they are expecting. We shall keep them busy putting out brush fires as we secretly set the entire forest ablaze. We shall keep them so busy chasing these mindless shit-eaters we shall unleash upon them that they will never suspect what our true intent for Aeros is.
She paused and looked out at the faces of the Parliament as they nodded their agreement with her.
The castings of the first curse, which was localized, of course, have proven more than successful. We are but days away from contriving the language to loose the second curse, in pluralis form, upon the populace of Aeros, and the time for war approaches. Within another cycle we shall unleash our hairy, filthy forces upon them, just as they expect. And when they began to strut about boasting of how easily they defeated the filthy little idiots we set upon them, it will be then that the true nature of our purpose will be revealed, and it will be too late for them to resist it.
The members of the Parliament applauded as they shouted their agreement with their Palatar's scheme. Shania, Darkinum, and Zarkin stood at the edge of the dock, watching as the raft came closer and closer.
It appears they intend upon putting in, milady,
Zarkin said. Shania replied,
So it would appear.
When they were within earshot, Dinari, or Carnata as it were, yelled out,
Hello, we need help. We have injured men aboard. May we land?
Yes, by all means. Zarkin, get the ropes and help them dock.
Yes, milady.
Raefus and Condon caught the ropes the 2 gnomes tossed them, and slowly pulled the large raft out of the river's current, and soon had it secured to the dock.
Welcome to the half-breed city, my good noids. How may we assist?
That's when Matheela, a.k.a. Karina, emerged from behind the cargo hold.
Encaptus totalis vocalis morte!
Shania yelled as she pointed her index finger at Kirena. Blue beams of light flashed from her hands, encircling Kirena and rendering her incapable of movement or speech.
You dare bring a witch to my home? Who are you and what is your true purpose?
Shania demanded. Carnata stepped in front of Kirena and pleaded.
Please do her no harm. She is not a member of the Order and has denounced Panetesis. She simply seeks asylum, and we do have injured men aboard, one very seriously.
Very well. Bring the injured forth and place him on the dock, and I shall attend him. But the witch stays immobilized and mute for the time being. Do not worry. The spell will cause her no damage.
Thank you, good Lady Sprite. Blessings inherent abound for you.
The 2 gnomes aided Raefus and Nimbash in getting Cephas onto the dock. They placed him in the prostrate position, and Shania knelt over him. She placed one hand on his forehead and the other over his heart. The elvish penchant for healing magic was taking over her conscious being. 2 days ago, it would have surprised her that this talent suddenly availed itself to her. But after the events of the last couple of days, she didn't bother to question it. As Shanaea's conscious mind fully aligned itself with the elvish element of her nature, a halo of pure white light began to grow brighter and brighter around Shanaea's head. It soon encapsulated both she and Cephas's entire bodies.
Emboli dispersae, anuraeti dimini, restauratae arterum.
As Shanaea recited the incantation, the light engulfing Cephas and her became blinding, then slowly faded.
Zarkin, be a dear and run to the palace and summon healers. Bid them bring a cart to transport this man to the Ministry of Restoration, where he can be looked after. Who are the others who have taken injury, Madam Noid?
Raefus here took 2 green Dusel darts to the back. My dear friend, whom you hold captive with your spells, performed an incantation which arrested the effect of the darts. Yet it may be wise that he see the healers as well, just to be sure. And Condon here took a stone to the forehead. Though his injury was seemingly not grievous, it likely should also be looked at.
Very well. They shall be attended. By whom were you attacked?
Ogres. As we rafted past Pish, a small detail of them attacked with stones and darts.
And the witch? From whence does she hail, and why should I trust she has no loyalty to Minerva and the Order?
We hail from the Noid city of Harlis in the northwest. Her name is Kyrena, and she had asylum there for quite some time. But as the storm grows around the distillery, we fled fearing for her safety. Please, good Lady Sprite, you can release her from your spell. You have no need to fear her.
Vocalis morti reversa Kyrena. Now speak, witch, but say nothing that remotely resembles incantation, or I shall cast you to the bottom of the great river and drown you. Convince me you do not serve the Palatar.
You have no need to fear me, good Lady Sprite. I have absolutely no loyalty to Minerva or the 11th Order. My loyalty is to the order which existed prior to Minerva's inauguration as Palatar. The order which followed Marfo doctrine to the letter, before Minerva perverted our sacred code of ethics to suit her own vile purposes. My loyalty is to an order which at this point only exists in the hearts of those of my sisters who, like me, despise what the evil Minerva has transformed our sisterhood into. You have no need to fear me, milady, for I despise Minerva just as much as I perceive that you do.
Enclossus permente. Now, my dear witch, the false condyle you wear upon your wrist is no longer a facade. I am sorry, but it is a precaution that at this time I cannot forego. I shall release you from the spell which holds you firm to the deck of the raft, and you and your party will accompany me to the palace. There my father, Lord Oddicombe, will decide your fate. Fear not, he is a fair and just being. If your cargo is perishable, I shall send hands to the dock to place it in a barrel stay to preserve it until you depart.
My brother, will he recover?
He will indeed live. He had an issue of blood inside his head, but I was able to remove the pressure and restore the flow. He will awaken shortly.
Oh, blessings inherent abound. Thank you, dear Lady Sprite. I am forever in your debt.
I won't hold you to that oath, Raefus, but I do appreciate the sentiment. In captus totalis reverse Kyrena.
And the blue swirling light surrounding Kyrena dissipated and she was able to move again. The cart and the healers along with Zarkin arrived, and Cephas was loaded onto it. The entire party proceeded down the wide path toward the palace. Darkinum and Zarkin lead, followed by the healers and the cart. Carnada and the merchants followed with Shanaea bringing up the rear.
Come, walk beside me, Kyrena. I should like a word with you, and I don't really wish to let you out of my sight just yet.
Kyrena fell into stride alongside Shanaea.
And what would you ask of me, my dear Lady Sprite?
When you speak of Minerva, I sense a conflict within you. Yes, there is a hatred, but there is also a sense of betrayal that goes beyond what she has done to your order. There is something personal between the two of you that took an ill turn. Am I correct?
And when you speak of Minerva, there is a repulsiveness you feel for her that is only present in someone who has suffered great wrong at the hand of the one whom they find so despicable. But yes, there are personal ties between myself and the Palatar. But that is a subject I am reluctant to discuss with anyone at this point.
Oh, sorry. I am Shanaea, by the way. I don't think I ever introduced myself. You'll forgive me, but after the wrongs I was put through at Minerva's hand, recently I might add, seeing another witch, of course, caused my guard to go up. And I understand your reluctance to discuss your relationship with Minerva. I won't force you. I've for the most part ascertained that you're not in league with her, and for the moment that is enough. I do hope I have judged you correctly. I feel that you are someone who would make a loyal ally.
Thank you. And though the circumstances are not exactly pleasant, I'm glad I met you, Shania. I don't fully understand it, but being around you, well, a hope springs up in my spirit that wasn't there before. Yet you are an enigma, a sprite who stands well over 6 feet tall, and can work not only sprite but elven mage as well. What you did at the dock was truly amazing. The holding spells you placed me under never wavered the tiniest bit. Not while you questioned Carnada, nor while you were totally preoccupied with the elvish healing spells you cast on Cephas. I know there are sprites who possess powerful abilities, but to be able to cast more than one complex spell at a time, and upon a witch at that, with the supreme authority you just displayed, is well beyond anything I have ever witnessed.
Thank you, I suppose. My father is half Manista, which would account for my unusual height. He is also half elf, which would account for the elven mage. It's really not that remarkable.
No. You can't dismiss what just happened to be a product of mere genetics. There is much more to you, my good Shania, than just that which can be explained by inherited traits. Much more indeed.
Flattery won't persuade me to remove that condyle any sooner, my dearest Kiraina.
That's no issue right now at all. I feel quite safe here with you, safer than I have in quite some time.
You shall likely feel safer still once inside the palace of Boniscus. The Lady Noid, she seems to hold you quite dear. She pleaded for your life as if it were her own. Much more than a casual acquaintance, I presume?
Carnada and I have known each other for the better part of 2 decades. And yes, we are more than just friends. I suppose the fact she so readily jumped between me and an aggressor of apparent immense power made that pretty clear.
Indeed it did. Very brave on her part, as she could not have known that I would not have harmed her. We near the palace. I shall place you and your small company in the custody of the palace guard, and instruct them to escort the injured to the Ministry of Rejuvenation, and you and the remainder of your party to the dining hall. I shall go and arrange an audience with my father, the lord of the city. Worry not. You are in good hands and will be treated with kindness. Your comfort is assured. Here we part company. I most likely will not see you again today, as I have an errand I must attend which shall hold me until tomorrow. Until then, rest well, and enjoy the amenities the city has to offer. Farewell for now, my dear.
Hiranum, Parthis, and Tanea sat at the small table in Parthis' and Dinari's private dining nook. Parthis had prepared Tanea a tonic and brane, a very strong liquor distilled by the Elvish, to perhaps calm her frayed nerves after her ordeal. As she sipped her drink, Parthis and Hiranum discussed the situation. Parthis was explaining his intentions concerning Tanea.
I want to get Tanea to Boniscus and the spirit ministers as soon as possible, but I don't want to send her south past the distillery. Yet if the 8 who perpetrated the act of terrorism upon us did indeed head north, then sending her to Prentice to catch a raft proves to be even more dangerous than the southern route.
Hiranum replied,
I can perhaps offer a solution. There is a little traveled path from just north of here, directly to Dissel Point. We can utilize that path to get her to Horus, who can put her on a raft to Dan's. Being gnomish, she will be well received there, and can be afforded safe conduct onto Don Avarice and then Boniscus.
Yes, that should work nicely. I can send apprentice and hire archers to accompany her to Dan's, perhaps all the way to Boniscus. I may do well to hire a few archers to guard the maid considering what happened, because something is puzzling me. Why question Tauntaun when I am sure they would assume that I would have more information concerning Matheela's whereabouts? I fear they may return at some point.
That is a puzzlement indeed, Parthis. I was sent here to inquire about Matheela and to arrange for her safe conduct south. Since you have already taken care of that, then my assignment there is over. I will help arrange transport and even accompany Tanea on her journey. And yes, by all means arrange for the maid to be guarded against anything Minerva may have planned.
Hiranum went on to explain about the meeting held in the Controvisory, and that surely steps would be taken against Minerva soon.
Hold the fort, good Parthis. I shall run to Prentice to make the arrangements we have discussed. I would wager that Governor Zamus will be returning tomorrow with tidings of the council at Boniscus. Blessings inherent upon you.
It is Saturday, on the 23rd day of Dharme, 10 o'clock in the evening. Jerome, Danish, and several members of the detail of intel thieves that had been assigned to accompany them on this mission to Black Mountain sat at a long table in the great hall of the Gnomish Inn and splurt house named the Rabbit Hole, in Dan's. They had just finished a late but well-deserved meal and were discussing their plans for infiltrating the hierarchy of the Bartane elves over Ale and Sarnay. Jerome began.
As much as I hate to forego the opportunity to lie with a sweet-noid working lady, or a gnomish maiden for that matter, I feel we should wrap up this impromptu meeting and get some rest. We still have the better part of 45 miles to cover and shall need to get an early start in the morning. We can make Pandana by noon, and after a hot meal, we must lay in some supplies, as we must camp at least once before we reach Black Mountain. We can shave a couple of miles from our route if we leave the Great River Road, where it intersects with the old pass to the ruins of Dinari, and go cross-country. That will also save us going near Pinnegree and perhaps being noticed by those we are trying to infiltrate.
As much as I would like to disagree with you concerning the Noid ladies, I can't. Perhaps on the return trip we can indulge. And I hear the Round Robin Inn of Black Mountain is a splurt house supreme, although a bit on the shady side.
Which best suits our purposes. It is out of the way and is situated to mask the comings and goings of its clientele. Perfect for a covert operation such as ours.
Then I shall see you just after the cock crows in the morning, my good Minister. Blessings inherent and good night to you.
And with that, Jerome, Danish, and the rest of the company adjourned to the guest wing to get a night's rest before beginning the next leg of their journey westward.